have a lot of non-shooters who are in their rotation. And what I was alluding to earlier, I mean, you mentioned Luke Kornet. Luke Kornet, I think, is a great asset for them, a really amazing pickup. But you're throwing out Stephon Castle, who looks good at times, very turnover prone early, has not gotten that shot ironed out. It may take some time to do so. You have, Keldon Johnson, who shot the ball well this season so far, but not necessarily going to be a great shooter. And then you have Sochan, who obviously is also not going to be a good shooter or a great shooter when he comes back. So, and these are guys that are going to play big minutes in their rotation, I think. So I again, you talked about Harrison Barnes, Devin Vassell. Those are guys that I love around Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. But how do all of these guys fit together? Do they fit together? And is there something the Spurs can do right now to catapult them from contender to maybe like near top dog status in the West, behind OKC?
So I guess I get to be the jerk here. I guess that's what you're doing to me here. Actually,
I did the segue, so
you did the segue. Look. This team is at least Wemby's 21 years old, a year ahead of schedule. And I don't think anybody would begrudge them for just playing it out and just being like, dude, we have a long runway. Let's see how this goes. Who knows what could happen? Who knows how a player could evolve? What does Dylan Harper become? What does Castle become? Does Sochan have a shooting leap in him? We don't know. We only have so much information. We have nothing. All right.
Sorry for the pod audience.
Actually, is not a believer in the Sochan shooting leap. But my point is that I don't think anybody would begrudge them for just standing pat. With that being said, I said the second they won the lottery that they should be aggressive in looking to make a trade. I don't know who to trade. And the reason I don't know is because of what I just said. We only have so much information. But I feel very confident that with Fox returning, at least one of Harper, Castle, or Fox is going to be less valuable than they are today. I think that this is the most valuable that the three of them are all going to be at once. And at least when Fox returns forever. I think that is like almost a fork in the road for them. And this, if we're talking about like more rational logic, who knows how long Wemby stays healthy for? Like, this is one of the greatest. We're already this start. Like he could just win MVP this season. You could have an MVP this season. You kind of have to throw him being 21 out and just treat him like an MVP. And you have an MVP. You have three guards who I think Spurs fans would at least agree that it's unlikely we're going to see a future where Fox, Harper, and Castle are playing 3-guard lineups together with Wemby. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that looks stupid in a couple of years. Part of me hopes it does. That'd be really cool. But what are the chances of that happening? What are the chances of the three of them all developing together? They all sort of operate best offensively with the ball in their hands. It feels gross to say it because the Spurs, when you think about the Spurs, haven't won a playoff series since 2018, I think, maybe 2017. Haven't won a playoff series in almost a decade. They're this young, their average age of their core is super young. I know their fans don't want to get thrown right back into the fire of, we're this contender. It's now. I'm not saying it's now or never, but it does feel like specifically for those three players, this would be your best opportunity to sell one of them high and get better fitting pieces and really make a run at this thing these next few years.
You took the words right out of my mouth and directly where I was going. I love what you said. You have to throw him being 21 out and think of it like you currently have an MVP on your roster. That's how I think of it. I don't think of it as like in a normal situation, you would say, he's young. You got a bunch of young guys. They're going to develop. You give them time. You could play it out that way. You could slow play it and see. But to me, you have a guy who's an MVP already. Like he's playing at an MVP level. He's 21 years old. I don't care. I just care that his prime, who knows what his prime will look like. Oh, I don't even want to think about it, really. Like, if I'm a fan of any other NBA team. But if this is not his prime, he's still like at an MVP level. And in that case, anytime you have a guy who's at an MVP level, you have to attack a championship, in my opinion. And so to do that, I don't think keeping all of those guys together, as you described, is probably the way to go. And I do want to get out ahead of this. And that's why I said the thing about De'Aaron Fox at the top, because I think De'Aaron Fox is going to be the one that gets the heat. They're playing really well right now. They seem very dominant. He's going to come back and they're going to try to mesh all those guys. And I think it's going to lead to a little bit more struggles. And the national media is going to go, well, De'Aaron Fox came back. It was all good before De'Aaron Fox came back. This guy's not a winner. Maybe it's his fault. He's the reason. All of those kinds of narratives are going to start. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's more of a synergistic and fit case, not De'Aaron Fox is not good enough case. And so, we're going to have to establish that very, very soon if the Spurs want to say, not like this is a have your cake and eat it too year and like, hey, maybe we'll develop the young guys and still have a chance to win it. And yeah, we're a year early. I think of it as like, man, I got an MVP on my roster. Let me try to win this now. The guy's making $13 million. And you can easily surround him with another couple of players that work better with him synergistically and give up one of these young guys. And I'm really curious if Spurs fans have made it this far into the video, what you all think about that. Do you hate that? Are you like, no, I want to see this team with Stephon Castle. I want to see this team with Dylan Harper. I want to see those guys develop, and I want to see what they're going to be in 5 years and develop along with Wemby and see this young core, get better together. Or are you thinking, hang on a second, we have this guy. This guy is playing like the best player in the NBA right now. He's devastating defensively, a defensive presence like we've never seen in the history of our league. Offensively, he's gotten so much better. He's not even shooting threes, and he's dominating the league on an offensive end as well through his gravity and all the ways that Geoff described. And hey, let's try to win right now. Let's try to win right now, and then next year, and then next year, and then next year, and maximize his championship window, which could be from age 21 to age 34. I have no idea. And so if I was a Spurs fan, that's how I would feel, but I'm curious how Spurs fans actually feel. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
It's also just important to remember that this isn't overly negative. This isn't negativity regarding any of these one players. Like, at least not me. I don't think XJ is putting a ceiling on any of Harper, Castle, or Fox in terms of what they could do. If the Spurs only had one of those guys, this would be a much more exciting proposition. You just put the ball in Castle's hands, pair him with Wemby, and who knows what that upside could be. But you have to imagine a scenario, like flip the position and imagine a world where like a team had a young Dwight Howard and a young Nikola Jokic or something like that, And it's like, it wouldn't be hating on either one of them to be like, okay, well, we know Jokic and Howard can't play together. We have these two amazing players. Somebody else probably needs one of them more. Maybe we could, while they're still really highly thought of and regarded, flip one of them for a player who could be a wing and could play with Howard and these guards that we have. There's a lot of sense in that, even if you trade Dwight Howard and he goes to another team and he's great. So I know that Spurs fans are thinking right now, like, oh, we're just going to trade Castle. He's going to go to another situation and he's going to be amazing and we're going to look stupid. That is possible. But what are the likelihood, if it's Castle, if it's Harper, what is the likelihood that whoever ends up getting traded would have become that player in San Antonio, sharing the court or sharing minutes and role with these other two guys? It's about what they can do on this team when it's fully healthy. And look, again, this is Victor Wembanyama. He's going to be the story of the NBA for the next 10 years. I can absolutely guarantee you if the way this plays out is the Spurs just become this dynasty and all three of Harper, Fox, and Castle are amazing next to Wemby, we will talk about it again. We will revisit it, and we will. So it's not going to be a thing where this is a one and done. We're never going to talk about it again. We will revisit this. But I do think it is at the very least, a thought experiment that's worth having. And you need to consider the idea that we could get to April, we could get to May, and oh, this was this fun young team that lost in round one, but did they have to? And is it possible they go into next offseason and they say, man, clearly all three of Harper, Fox, and Castle aren't going to work, but now all of a sudden they're a year older, they're a year closer to getting paid, they're thought of a little bit less, they're regarded a little bit less highly throughout the league, and you can't get as much. This is a chance to get out in front of this and get maximum return for one of them. And yeah, I mean, look, if you're a Spurs fan, you probably are so excited about your team. The last thing you want to think about is these trades, but I do think it's a conversation worth having if you're thinking about maximizing the trajectory of what could very well be the greatest basketball player to ever live. Like I texted XJ the other day, I think if you just guarantee health, Wembanyama is a betting favorite right now to be the greatest basketball player of all time. And some people might laugh at that, but again, if you take away all the outcomes where he deals with injuries because he's just so tall, and we know what happens to people that tall, this could be the greatest basketball player of all time. And I think it is the responsibility of the organization to make sure that his window is maximized.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would laugh at that, honestly. I think there's probably no basketball fan who engages with the game at least relatively closely who would think that that was funny, because what we're seeing is stuff that we've never seen before at an age. Of course, we've never seen it. So, of course, at this age, we haven't seen it. But you combine those two things and literally anything's possible at this point. There's nothing off the table.